they pass the page. Their words a trap, a scripted stage. Each line they write with practiced art to tear your truth and world apart. From hidden rooms where plans are laid, they craft each storm and false parade. The poison seeps through even news, while puppet masters light the fuse. Stand up, fight back, reclaim your side. Don't let them dim your inner light. Break every chain they've wrapped around. Your spirit won't stay underground. This war of minds, this battle cry, will shake their towers from the sky. Old Edward's tricks still rule the trade. Each fear and wish precisely made. They sell you pain in pretty shows, while programming which way it flows. Your blood runs hot, your thoughts run cold. The stories break and ratings fold. They split the world in black and white, while freedom fades into the night. Stand up, fight back, reclaim your sight. Don't let them dim your inner light. Break every chain they've wrapped around. Your spirit won't stay underground. This war of minds, this battle cry, will shake their towers from the sky. Every screen and printed sheet, the same old lies they still repeat. Their mockingbirds sing false refrains, while agents pull the mental chains. We dance their steps from sun to moon, or march into their twisted tune. But truth breaks through like morning rays when questions pierce their practiced haze. They track each step and thought you make, each choice you think you freely take. But power shifts when eyes grow clear and manufactured lies appear. So drop the script upon the ground, let freedom's voice ring true and sound. Your story's yours to write anew, with every word authentic, true. Stand tall, break free, reclaim your sight. Don't let them steal your sacred light. Tear down the walls they built around. Your spirit rises, freedom bound. This war of minds, this battle cry, will bring their empire from the sky. The pages burn, the truth breaks free. This minds awake to liberty. This war of minds, this sacred fight, brings hidden truths to light.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Let me just turn my microphone down a little bit. I think I'm overmodulating there. All right. There's a lot that I want to cover today, and I have a very short time to do it because I'm doing it on Zoom. I've got a few people that I put links out to join me if they choose to do so in Zoom. But as you saw from the title of today's show, we're going to talk about Sharia law. We're going to talk about Iran, what's going on there. And then we're going to talk about the state of our politicians, our Congress and our Senate, and what's going on there. Unfortunately, in my personal opinion, I don't feel like there's a lot of good news coming out of Congress or the Senate or the people that are in it. So anyway, let me get all the other stuff out of the way first. So down in the description below the video, there are our sponsor links, and then we've also got my newest gig here, which I am 117% on board with because it works and it's LifeWave. There's certain things I can't say online about it, but I can talk to you one-on-one, and that doesn't break any of the company requirements of what we can say or not say. But the other thing I'm doing too is I'm keeping an eye on the transfer rates here for the live stream. I'm streaming on YouTube on the Chill and Relax channel and over on our Rumble channel. For those of you that are watching, I posted the links for both streams and the Zoom if you would like to join. Just shoot me a message in either Rumble chat or YouTube chat if you click the link and you're waiting in the lobby for me to allow you in. But back to the LifeWave. I've been using it now for a month, and I swear by it. And we're talking like, for me, and I don't know if it's just my physiology or what, but I am pretty much operating almost pain-free using these, and if I don't use them, I get to the point where I can barely walk because of my right knee, my lower back, and other issues. So the link to my website is right there, so you can go look at it and go learn a little bit about things yourself. And if you would like to contact me, you can reach me at Mr. E at IRLMediaHQ.com. And I check that email multiple times daily, and I can get back to you pretty quickly. All right, so let's talk about Sharia law. I have got some notes here. You'll probably see me where I'm looking like I'm reading off the screen, but I'm just following my notes on this because I wanted to be as thorough as possible. And it's interesting because now I'm talking about Sharia law, and all of a sudden my throughput is dropping considerably on YouTube. I don't know if it is on Rumble either, but there's no way to really tell. But it looks like it came back up. It's good. So let me get my notes. All right. So for those of you that don't know what Sharia law is, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to focus on Sharia law, which is basically the Muslim. They call it their religion, but it's actually a religion built into a political system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how it is incompatible with the U.S. Constitution. I am also going to highlight specific Quran quotes that conflict with U.S. laws and values. Now, I'm not going to hit all of them. I know that there are a lot of other influencers that go live on the street and they actually talk with Muslims, especially in the college areas, and they talk to them about certain quotes from the Quran, which either they were not aware of or they just blatantly ignored them because they're trying to push that Islam is a peaceful religion. I'm here to tell you it's not. So for 47 years, we've been hearing death to America, death to Israel, and to some point it's still going on, but not so much in Iran. And we're going to talk about Iran in this too, because Iran is the #1 supplier of all the terrorist actions that are happening outside of that country. Here in the United States, in the UK, other European countries. And what's interesting is right now, the UK, almost 100% are ignoring it. Here in the United States, you will see that they basically leave out that they were Muslim people that did the infractions. Okay, because our media is also controlled by the same people that control the media in the UK and other European countries and Australia, basically all over the world. So let's get on with this here. I got a lot to cover, little time to do it. So we'll get deeper into some of these things on a later broadcast, but I want to get through this because I have some other important things to make people aware of or to think about. Okay, so I was going to have a guest on, but after talking with the person, because she's a pretty well-known influencer too, and being that she is a woman, um, we felt that she might have a bigger target on her back, especially from the location that she's from. So I'm going to do this, raising some concerns that she had and some other women that I've talked to recently, and some maybe not as recent, but in the recent past. I would say when I talk about recent past, we'll talk in the last few months. So as a woman and concerned citizen, she worries about women's rights, equality, and the recent influx of Muslim immigrants during Biden's term, 2021 to 2025, the illegal entries and resettlements. Okay, so we're starting to see an influx of certain things that are considered Sharia law that are picking up here in the United States, but I'm going to revert back to the UK to use as a very strong example of what's going on there. Okay, but we're going to concentrate on the core incompatibilities between Sharia and the U.S. Constitution. So we're going to discuss the foundational class, whereas Sharia is a religious legal system derived from the Quran and the Hadith, prioritizing Islamic doctrine, but that also is Islamic law. Okay? So while the Constitution is secular, emphasizing individual rights, separation of church and state, say like our First Amendment, and equal protection under the 14th Amendment, we can highlight the religious supremacy Sharia often requires in cases, or in all cases, where Islamic law will govern all aspects of their life. And that violates the Establishment Clause in the U.S. Constitution by potentially imposing religious rules on non-Muslims. Okay, so we'll also cover freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and even like in our U.S. Constitution, our freedom to assemble. And what we've been seeing more recently, for example, in Iran, where a lot of the Iranian people were out protesting, or maybe not so much as protesting, but they were out there um, basically asking for their freedom back. And then over the last few months, there are some reports of up to 30,000 people that have just been murdered in the streets. And it's still going on. We're hearing now that one of the women's sports teams from the Olympics didn't stand for their flag or their whatever it was supposed to be, and this was in Australia, and they were basically asking for asylum, but because of the way Islam rules over pretty much everybody in Australia, because of their government. Okay, what people fail to realize is that the Australian government, the UK government, the United States government, many other governments that were secular are now taken over and are being run by Muslims. And that's behind the scenes because when the Muslims say, no, you can't do that, these politicians that are in these governments are lockstep and they shut it down. Using the UK as an example, you can't even put a meme up of anything that says anything about or even gives an impression about Sharia. One moment. All right. Um, so yeah, they don't actually have the freedom to assemble, and it doesn't matter if they're male or female. But the really sad thing is that most of the men are taking a bullet to the chest or the face. The women are getting an eye poked out, and in some cases they're being hung in public. Okay, so women under Sharia law are basically treated like third-class citizens. Okay, so we'll get into some specific Quran quotes, and there'll be more of them as we go through this that are conflicting with U.S. laws. So they have inheritance inequality. So the uh, Quran 4:11 states, "For the male, what is equal to the share of two females." So that violates U.S. anti-discrimination laws and gender equality under the 14th Amendment. Punishments for crimes, Quran 5:38 mandates amputate their hands for theft, which is cruel and unusual punishment banned by the 8th Amendment. So marital dynamics, Quran 4:34 allows men to strike disobedient wives, clashing with U.S. domestic violence laws and equal partnership principles. Now these are on the low end, people. This isn't like where it gets into the, take them out and end them. Okay, so um, I'm getting information in from Ukraine. I think I'll probably try to talk about that if I can. There's some things going on there that aren't good, that are kind of I'm questioning. But so overall gender inequality, Sharia often treats women as subordinate, with men as, quote, guardians. This contradicts U.S. laws on equal rights and protections against gender discrimination. Okay, so they force their women to veil themselves or wear a hijab. In many Sharia interpretations, women must cover modestly with compulsion in countries like Iran or Saudi Arabia. Quran 24:31 instructs women to draw their veils over their bosoms, but enforcement can lead to mandatory hijab, violating U.S. freedoms of expression and choice under the First Amendment. Now, um, if they feel that they aren't covered properly, they could be beaten in the streets or even stoned. And if you have ever been witness to a stoning, it's very, very cruel, inhuman, and oftentimes leads to death. Okay, so blame in rape cases. Under some Sharia rulings, women need 4 male witnesses to prove that they were raped. This is deprived from Quran 24:4 through 6 on adultery accusations, often leading to the victim being accused of adultery if evidence is lacking. This shifts blame to women, resulting in punishments like stoning, which starkly oppose U.S. Constitution due to due process, victim protections, and laws like Violence Against Women Act. Other examples like polygamy is allowed for men, Quran 4:3. It's easier to divorce for men, and testimony of women is worth half of that in men in court, Quran 2-282, all undermining equal treatment under U.S. law. So some concerns about Muslim immigration and Sharia influence. So we're going to come right back here to the United States, and we're going to talk about some numbers. Now, these numbers are pretty accurate up until just before Trump came back into office under his third term in January of 2025. So during Biden's term, the immigration surge, or the population, grew by 8.3 million, okay, to 50. It grew by, or from 8.3 million to 53.3 million, and that's a Pew Research. Muslim population estimated at over 4.5 million, with significant increases from Afghan resettlements. I guess there was like 160,000 plus that came from Afghanistan. Remember when we left our base and left all of our equipment and people there? So these refugees from the Muslim country, most of them were from Afghanistan, got priority even over our own American our own American citizens that were there. Okay, so these refugees from Muslim majority countries such as Syria, Somalia, Iraq, and border encounters were exceeding 10 million, including from Pakistan and Turkey. So potential for Sharia advocacy. So these are this is a 2024 Pew poll, shows about 40% of U.S. Muslims support some form of Sharia, and they discuss worries about we have been discussing worries about Sharia creep in communities, like demands for separate family courts or school accommodations, without assuming all immigrants support it. Okay, so 40% is a very high number, even, for they say that we have all these moderate Muslims that are living here in the United States. And if you put them all in one box and just say whether they're moderates or not, because I don't think there's really a such thing as a moderate Muslim, I think that is that's made up. But if you take all the Muslims that are here in the United States, it doesn't matter what country they're from, and 40% of them outrightly support some form of Sharia law. Okay? So one of the questions that my guest was going to ask is basically how can we probe this influx, and how this influx might introduce values conflicting with women's rights. And we got to look back at Europe, okay, specifically the UK, when they started making no-go zones, okay, or U.S. cases of honor-based violence, which we've had that. We've had a few cases where a father beat his daughter to death because she wore clothes that offended him or thought that would be offending to Islam. Okay, but that was he got away with it scot-free, or maybe a small fine, didn't do any jail time, because that is part of their culture. Okay, so some of the other real world examples are like acid attacks or forced marriages. Forced marriages is very bad, because we're talking about very young children, as young as 5 or 6 years old, that are promised to an old Muslim man for marriage, and they probably can get married as young as 6, and then by the time this little girl is 9 or 10 is when they consummate the marriage. This is pedophilia, people, and it's 100%. It's not just against our Constitution, it's against God's law. Okay? So there's also a lot of other misconceptions out here about how many Muslims are integrating and reject extreme Sharia. Okay, but that is not true. Okay, they don't reject extreme Sharia. They do allow some form of it, but they don't want maybe getting the hands chopped off or getting hung for being accused of adultery or something. Okay, so now we're going to go back to like women's worries. So we'll kind of go back to the person that I was going to have on as a guest, where they were expressing personal fears for like their daughters' futures. Okay, in a society potentially influenced by unequal gender norms. Okay, people are saying, well, it isn't there. We don't, it's not in, Sharia law is not passed and it's not allowed in the United States. But listen, people, you can go to some communities. Dearborn is one of them. There's some new ones that are here, right here in Texas, that are allowing those communities to practice Sharia law on the lowdown. Okay? As long as they can do it without creating a big hubbub and having people find out about it. But it's going on. Okay, we saw it happen a couple years ago, like I just mentioned, in California, where a Muslim man beat his daughter to death because of what she was wearing. That was not approved um, under Islamic or slash Sharia law. Okay, so um, I think moving forward, we would like to take and do some educating and even some advocating. We encourage everyone to learn about Sharia incompatibilities and supporting bills like those proposed by Sharia Free America Caucus, formed in 2026 to ban foreign laws in U.S. courts. Okay? So we have to keep our eyes on that because we're seeing a lot of things that are getting passed in our Congress and our Senate right now that aren't outright saying that we're going to approve Sharia law, but what they're doing is they're minimizing things to make it easier for these things to happen out there. Okay, so everybody just has to be more vigilant, and there's going to be a lot of whistleblowers. There's going to be a lot of these younger males and females that are being brought up in these Muslim families that are going to get access to TikTok, to Facebook, to some type of social media, and they're going to be screaming out for help. And this is something that we have to act quickly on because they've got people out there that monitor this. They find out who this person is, and they're going to take care of them pretty quickly to shut them up. Okay? We want to support programs teaching American values, English, and civics to immigrants. We want to fund women's rights organizations helping those escaping from oppressive cultural practices. Now, that being said, a lot of these women's rights organizations out there are doing things completely in the opposite, and they're doing things that have nothing to do with Sharia law. They're getting this money in and they're using it for gender bending their kids. Okay, so we have to be very careful about if we're putting money out, donating money, that we have to make sure that it's going to the right place and that we're not supporting things that are against our American values and our culture. Okay? Um, some legal and political steps: vote for candidates opposing Sharia accommodations, lobby for constitutional amendments or Supreme Court clarifications if needed to affirm secular law supremacy. Okay, so here in Texas, okay, he didn't make it in, but we know that the vote again, was manipulated. But we need people like Doc Pete Chambers in our government, and we need to also in our Congress and in our Senate. We cannot have people with dual citizenship. It doesn't matter what country that they hold the dual citizenship with. You are either 100% America and you represent your American constituents in your state, or you don't get voted in. If you are out there promoting other countries and standing up for other countries over American values, or say the America first, you need to go or you just don't get voted in. People, we really need to start looking into the backgrounds of these people that are running for seats in our Congress and our Senate or any place that has to do with American law and culture, to make sure that these people can't get in and do anything against our Constitution. We sat with our hands under our butts for 50 years and we let this creep in. First it came through as communism, but then we see where it came out to today. It's communism, but it's also Marxist, and that's what we're dealing with right now is Sharia law. Okay? So we need to get the people that are pushing the agenda for Islam and Sharia law out of our government. They can't be involved in it. And as a way to be pro, what's the word? In the know and knowing what our people are doing, we need to watch what they're voting for when things come up for vote. Okay? When they start voting for things that are anti-America first, or anything that takes away from your individual rights, those people need to be put out into the spotlight and they need to be looked into, and in many cases they need to be kicked out. The people that are in our government right now, they were supposed to only be there as part-time representatives for us. These people have made it into a full-time career to be a politician. And they're fleecing the American people, and they're giving themselves raises and a salary that far goes over what most American people make. And this is wrong. Our politicians are supposed to work for us, and they're supposed to make their decisions based on how we vote and what we vote for. Okay? Community actions. You need to form watch groups to report Sharia-based abuses. We're going to see a lot of that coming from the inside of these groups, of some of these people that really want to get out and really want to assimilate. But there's hotlines like those from Ayan Hirsi Ali's foundation, okay, where they encourage interfaith dialogues that prioritize U.S. laws. So our ultimate goal is to completely remove Sharia influence by upholding the Constitution as the sole legal framework. No parallel systems, and we do this through education, policy, and cultural emphasis on equality and freedom. Okay? So that's my thing on Sharia law. We will go a little deeper into it as we go. All right, and now I'm back on my screen where I can look at chat, and I see Patriot Roydy out there. I see Ram Red Bud. Good to see you, hon. Haven't seen you in a long time. I hope you're doing well. And yes, it is an infiltration, not an invasion. Okay, and yeah, so This is what I like. I like to see our people out there talking. I'm sorry that I'm late to the chat part of it because I had a full screen of notes of things that I needed to go over with you. Okay, so now I want to talk about something came up just before the broadcast. Um, and I'll get to that, but I want to talk about Iran first. Okay, so this morning I was looking on X and on True Social, and I saw where President Trump basically gave Iran 48 hours to allow passage through the Strait of Hormuz without people getting shot at. Um, and if it doesn't happen within the next 48 hours, Trump is then going to go after all of their energy infrastructure. So Iran should soon be without power. If they continue doing what they're doing, they'll be without power. And the very next thing, I see it coming, their oil infrastructure, um, Karg Island, is going to go poof. Okay, it's going to be nothing but a big giant fireball. So right now, President Trump was basically saying we're going to let Iranian ships go through, and we're going to let them sell their oil. Okay, but the problem is that the price of oil went up so much, Iran's not going to make as much money on the sale of their oil. They're going to take a huge hit. Okay, so there were people out there saying, well, is there a way that we can cut them off, or what can we do to hurt them? And Scott Bessent said, we're basically suing them. We're basically using their oil against them. Okay, and I like that, and that's pretty sneaky. But um, I can tell you that President Trump doesn't mince words. If he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And I think Iran has FAFO'd enough that they've realized this. But here's the thing: is there are little rumors that I'm hearing in whispers off to the side that Iran wants to come to the table, and they want to have some kind of an agreement, or they're going for peace. You know, Trump is saying, well, there aren't many Iranian upper echelon left that can actually come and talk to us about putting an end to this war. And at the same time, when all this is being done, we have mainstream media out there telling the American people that the war is not going well. Here's the thing, people. If you're paying attention and you realize that a lot of the crap that mainstream and some of the operatives out there are putting out is AI, you will realize that we are winning the war. And the things that are being said out there about some of our bases being hit and people, all these people dying, that our ships are getting hit, that they shot down airplanes, yada, yada, yada. It's all fake and gay, and it's disinformation. Okay? Unless it comes directly from CENTCOM, which they have a channel, an official channel on X, I don't believe it. Okay? And I'm not going to be out there putting fear porn out and telling the American people something that may not be true. And so far, what showed right now is about 99.999% of what we've been hearing from these other operatives out there is a big fat lie. And mainstream media, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about Fox, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, and any of you anti-MAGA influencers out there that are trying to split everybody up. It's not going to work. Okay? So, I hit on the next topic. Well, actually, before I get to that, just before I started the live stream, I just saw a post, and I can't, this has come from Benny Johnson. Okay, it was a post that was just right there. I don't follow Benny anymore because there's just some things that throw me off, and I don't know that Benny is being 100% genuine. But he showed video. That's partial receipt. But again, the video is small enough that I can't look at it and definitively say that it was AI, but I haven't had a chance to look into it, but I will, and I'm not saying that this is true, but apparently there's been a missile or missiles that have hit the most revered religious site in Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, because it's important to both Christians, Jews, and Muslims, okay, that it's been hit. Now, people have been saying now for a couple of days that there was going to be an incident where the Temple Mount was just going to be blown up into smithereens, and because Iran is just basically shooting missiles at whoever they can hit, my guess is that this is going to be something that's actually done by Iran, so Iran takes the wrath of all the other Arab slash Muslim nations in the Middle East. Okay, that's going to put all these other countries even further into dislike of Iran. And we know right now that all these countries didn't like Iran, but they didn't speak up or do anything against Iran. Iraq did, but the rest of the countries didn't because they have too much infrastructure that they're afraid of getting lost, and too high of a population they don't want to risk their people. So this is something that we want to keep an eye on. So, is this rumor going to be true? Are they going to blow up? When I say they, I'm not being specific. I'm not saying it's Iran. For all we know, it could be Israel doing it because they're trying to clear that land out for this next temple. But for those of us that are in the know, we know that the Temple Mount area is not the location where the actual temple is supposed to go. It's off by somewhere around like a quarter of a mile or so. Okay, it's not the right place. That's just from what I've been looking into. Okay, so I think I still have my camera still showing. The meeting hasn't said that it ended yet. I think I get like 40 or 45 minutes, but I'm at 44 right now. So I really quickly want to hit on, and I think it's probably because I'm the only one in here right now, but I want to hit on our Congress and Senate, and more specifically the Save America Act. Okay, so there's a lot of people out there calling it the SAVE Act. Okay, that's not what the SAVE Act is. The SAVE Act was another one that was a little more lenient on things to try to get it to pass, but they're actually two different things. What we want to focus on is the Save America Act and why Senator Thune is not trying to either do the talking filibuster or pushing the vote, because he says, "Oh, we can't get the vote." Why can't we? Are you afraid that if you do the vote, we're going to find out that there are a lot of other Republicans that don't stand for this either? Because as we know, these people that are in the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, they're basically the same coin. There's the same group. They're buddy outside their working walls, but they're just two sides to the same coin. Okay, so we're going to find out probably if it went to vote that we have more rhinos in the Republican Party than what we thought. And I did repost a list over on X. I want to give you a name of some of the people that I know right now. So I just got to look at my profile really quick. It was one of the last ones that I posted. Let's see. Here we are. So we've got these are the Republicans that are pretending to be. Actually they're Democrats, but they're pretending to be Republicans. So we've got Sue Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Lindsey Graham, Capito, I don't know what his first name is, McConnell, Tillis, Wicker, Moran, Thune, Young, Rounds, Cornyn, Hyde-Smith, Cassidy, and Grassley. Okay, so those are just some of the names that I would expect to have if they were to vote on the Save America Act, they would vote no. Okay, and I think maybe what Thune is trying to do, because he knows we would have that would out too many of the rhinos on the vote. I think what he's probably trying to do is he's maybe trying to force Trump to um, basically do an executive order, which I think he should. And a lot of people out there say, well, no, but nobody enforces the executive orders. Well, um, maybe it should be time that they do. Who is it that who are the executive order police that go out there to make sure that, I mean, we can't just have them go into a congressional hearing to find out, well, why aren't you following, why are you breaking the law? I think what they need to do is start from the top down in these states, start from the governor and work their way down. If the governor is not enforcing it, the governor should be arrested and charged with treason because they're not following an executive order from the President of the United States, the Commander in Chief and the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of our country. Okay? So, I'm still looking. Ram, I hope your garden is doing well. I haven't started mine. I probably will not do a garden this year. I might. It just depends on what we're gonna plant, but it's gonna be a much bigger garden than I had last year. Um, That's all I got, unless there's anything out there in chat that you guys want to bring up. Boom, 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 boom. I hope what I put out there has been informational for you, especially on the Sharia law. And that pretty much cements my stance. And just so you guys know, I'm not afraid of anybody coming to try to take me out or to do anything. And I put out worse stuff before and nobody's ever bothered me, but just probably because they know I pack everywhere I go and my head's on a swivel always. So anyway, that's all I got for today. We're almost at 50 minutes. Thank you guys and gals for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. Um, I will be back probably next week. I'm working every day. So I think I've only got one day that I can actually get on here and do anything with you. But keep in mind, May 31st is my last work day, and then I retire, and then I will be here quite often. All right. So take care. God bless everybody out there on the other side of the screen. You all have a good day and a good rest of the weekend. Be safe.